Hello?
Hello, Mr. Matz.
Yes.
This is Shawn Arnold calling from Legal Aid. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my God. Thank God we got in touch. I'm so glad. Sorry about that for the miscommunication. I'm so, so sorry.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So I'm kind of looked over. I printed the most recent copy of the report that the inspectors have filed on your home.
Uh huh.
Um, let me start from the top here. So you had a complaint for money owed filed with small claims court, right? That's what was heard today.
No, yep, for today was for money. Yeah, that was heard today at 9 a.m. I didn't get there till I thought it was at 2 p.m. because of where I've had so many court dates and she's been throwing away all my mail and even my certified mail she's been throwing away because we have the same address but it's a different house.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
was dismissed, and I talked to the judge, and the judge said just come back in the morning and doing an appeal. He said I'm better off doing an appeal anyway.
Well, I mean that may be true. Like I said, I know that our intake unit explained that we can't help you with that part,
No,
unfortunately.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Um, so I'm going to talk about. I just wanted to make sure that what was heard this morning didn't have anything to do with the eviction.
No,
Um,
not no, no, sir, it didn't.
right. Okay. Now I'm seeing we got a copy of. I actually went and got a copy of your court file, I think, or at least the important parts. The judgment that was entered by the magistrate on the 12th. And then I guess you appealed because I have a calendar notice for the September session. So there's a calendar call for that is August 30th.
Yes, I did. I appealed her decision because she submitted a judgment against me. I had to bring my dog to court because I don't have no one who could watch him or anything. And the landlord and her cousin I don't know if that's in my file, but they're opening the gates trying to kill my dog. When I brought the dog back to the house, she said I had 30 minutes to get him back to the house, drop him off, and come back to court. And I did. I went straight here and straight back. When I got here, they had left to go to court, and they knew I left already, thinking I for sure I wouldn't take my dog, and open the gate again. I got a videotape of that. So I'm glad I did take him to court because if I didn't, he would on Westridge Road smashed. And so when I got back to court, she said it was 43 minutes later and not 30 minutes. And she goes, I already submitted a judgment against you. She goes, I gave you ample time to take care of that dog, and I just started crying.
Okay. Yeah, I have the judgment, and I knew all of that.
Sorry.
And is it my understanding that you requested a jury trial or no?
Yes, I did. I just did that because it seems like all the people are against me and they're not listening to the story. And like it seems like the judges and everybody is like in a clique and they help each other out.
Well,
because I went to go get a restraining order on the cousin the very next day for doing the dog and open the gate, and I told the judge that day about that previous day how I had a judgment against me, and he was like, "Well, why are you bringing it up yesterday? What courtroom was that?" And I told him the courtroom and the magistrate's name, and he said, "Just stop right there." And he said he wouldn't let me speak no more to tell him about how the dog was open. He wouldn't give me a restraining order.
Right. Well, I mean that's another story. There are very specific and very stringent requirements before a court can issue a restraining order. But that's another story. I want to talk about the eviction.
Yeah.
What's your goal here in filing this appeal? What do you want to happen?
I would like to be able to stay. I haven't done anything wrong, and they wanted me out of the house in a day and throw all my stuff in the dumpster within a day so they could start the repairs on the house, and I couldn't do it. And then she just completely flipped on me, and I've never seen this side to her. And like she just wanted me out, and she said you're getting evicted and everything, and wanted me out. And like I'm the one who went through the fire and the damage, and like lost all my stuff. And now she's cut the power off on me the 29th. I want to be able to sue her and the city because I'm pretty sure the city condemned it illegally.
All right, so I'm gonna start at the top here. She did not cut cut the power off, the city cut the power off. I have a statement that's in Mr. Roach, the inspector, ordered the power cut off because there's a safety issue around the fire damage. Was his professional opinion, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
He had that done. Your landlord did not have that done.
Okay, I'm just finding this out because I talked to his supervisor, Troy Powell, and he told me they did not cut it off. That they cannot cut it off. I even got him on recording saying that.
Well, I mean,
I have it all on voice record. I've been recording everything.
Well, it may have been the fire marshal that did it. Let's see. Okay.
Troy Powell, who is his manager, above his manager, Larry Roach has his manager, who is Carla, and then above her is Troy Powell. And I spoke to Troy the day the judgment happened when I went down there to do the appeal against the condemnation, and he told me, I've been looking at your file, and it looks like your landlord cut the power off on you illegally. They would laugh at us at the power company if we called to turn off your power. We can't do that. And then he called me back like 2 weeks later, and I got him on recording saying the same thing.
I'm reading the report. This is Larry Roach's comment. He sent an email to the fire marshal. This is a report I received we spoke about. It was late afternoon, looking at the site at about 3:30. I'm updating my notes. I will be having Duke Power pull the electric on the unit due to unforeseen damage inside. The case number in our system is blah, 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 blah. Thanks for taking the time. Larry Roach.
And they didn't come out here with no notice or nothing. They just came out here. Well, I wasn't here that day. They came and knocked on the door, and they condemned it that day and pulled the power the same day and put a 48-hour notice to close the windows on the outside of the house.
Right. So here's my assessment, just having read the report, read what you communicated to our intake unit. Going back, and you moving back into that place is not an option. Whether if you think the city illegally condemned it, I mean,
Like, how can they come out here with no note? What if that happened? Do you rent? I don't know if you rent, but imagine if you rent and someone came out and you weren't there that day. They condemned it that day and pulled your power the same exact day for the windows being open.
So, again, I think they pulled the power because of the fire. Fire damage.
Yeah, but he couldn't see no fire damage. Couldn't come inside the house that day. So he did an outside inspection, and where I had the windows open, they weren't blown out or busted out. I just had them open, and he condemned it because I had my windows open. And he said, you have 48 hours to fix this, or you will be condemned. And they came out 48 hours later and did the inside inspection. But I had fixed the window. I closed all the windows.
Right. Well, they don't need you to be there to condemn the property. There's not...
No notice or nothing to let you know?
Unfortunately, no. Particularly in a situation like this where there's like an inherently unsafe condition in the property.
Well, there's not. If you come in the property, you can't. There's just the one bedroom upstairs is burnt, and that's the only soot and smoke and burnt damage is in the one room upstairs. No outlets are exposed or nothing.
Well, again, I don't think we have... In the summary ejectment, we can't argue with the inspectors about whether or not they, what their position is. They're the individuals. It's like the police officer says you did X or whatever, you were speeding, right?
But what if you weren't speeding?
But I mean,
like, they did this illegally, I'm telling you, because I also downloaded the report from Carla, and then when they came out here to re-condemn it the second time, they didn't know I was online, and I clicked on the house and I downloaded the report, and Carla in the report lied 4 separate times in the report. And Larry called me on his way here. I said, why would Carla lie like that? I don't understand why you people are doing this to me. And when he came out here, he condemned the house, didn't put the report on the thing. I said, where's the report so I know what's wrong with the house? He goes, I'm not giving you the report. We got to go back in and fix some things and add some things. I said, no, what you're doing is you're going back in the report to redact all her lies that I caught you in. And that's what they did. And I have the report I downloaded online of her lying, and then the new report they redacted the lies from. They said saying they couldn't get in touch with me. She said that she called me. See, that day when Larry condemned the house, I called him back. He left a voicemail, and I called him back like 2 hours later. And when I called him, he said, "Derek, well, I got some bad news for you." He goes, "Have you been home?" I said, "No." He goes, "You ain't been home?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you're going to see a condemned sign, and your power's being pulled right now." And I was like, I completely flipped out. I was like, "What? Why? I don't like. You can just come out here and do." So I asked for his manager's number. Immediately, I said, "Just give me her number. I don't think y'all are doing this right. Like, you got to give some kind of notice." He goes, "Well, what kind of notice do you want? 24 hours, 48 hours? What do you want, Derek?" And I said, "Just give me your boss's number." And I called her, left her a voicemail. She didn't pick up at like 3:30. I have everything documented. At 3:30, and left her a voicemail saying it was an emergency to call me back, and left my phone number. She went on the report and said on the report that she could not get a hold of me. She tried calling me that same day. She never tried calling me. Then she called Beverly, the landlord, and got my mother's phone number. And when she called my mother's phone number, she called 3 separate times, and my mom hung up on her 3 separate times. That never happened. And that's the part they redacted in the old report, that they redacted it when I called the line about it.
Okay. I'm trying to decide where to begin here.
I'm sorry. It's like I'm going through so much right now.
I understand, and I see what's happening here, and I want you to understand that what I'm talking to you about and the advice that I'm going to give you today is what I truly and 100% in my own mind believe, based on my understanding of the law, is in what I think is in your best interests.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I understand that from the front, because you're probably not going to like what I have to say.
Okay.
All right. I think you're already getting the sense of where we're going here.
I know. It's fine. Just see, it's you. You have the better advice. So.
All right. I don't see a route for us to contest the city's, for you to contest the city's decision here. Okay?
Okay.
Your landlord could, because she owns the property. Okay? It's not, there's a concept in law called standing, and it's when, it's like, who is the appropriate person to challenge some ruling that's been made by an agency or the court or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Under these circumstances, okay, and I'm sure you heard the talk about the hearing, where there was a hearing were you present for that?
No, the hearing's on the 12th for the condemnation.
Okay. So, now you've been noticed on that hearing.
Yes.
And you know that that's a thing, and I know that she knows that's a thing. That is the place for that to be discussed.
Okay, thank you so much.
The unfortunate truth of the matter is you're going to argue with code compliance about code compliance's decision.
Yeah, well, and also the manager lying and her manager lying as well. I got them both caught lying on voice recording and documented. So there's a reason they're lying and trying to cover it up, because they know they did something wrong.
Well, I'm looking at the damage to the apartment in these little photos. Now, admittedly, they're the photos that they took.
Yeah.
And I think the condemnation, just based on they use the International Property Maintenance Code as their basis.
So International Property Maintenance Code is what they use.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And I think the condemnation was appropriate, just based on what whether, they did crazy things that didn't notice you. I think the 48-hour notice thing is correct. If they posted it, and then, and that's a 48-hour notice to repair, that's really for your landlord saying that you need to fix these things.
Yeah. Well, they had pulled the power the same day, too.
She's going to be able to do that.
So, like, the 48-hour notice, though, when they put it on the door, they pulled the power the same day. I didn't have no 48 hours.
Right. And their position for doing that is that it was, like I said, there's a risk of additional fire starting because of the damage, is what they say. Whether or not that's technically true, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
No, I understand.
Unless you have,
I understand. Yeah, but if you came into the house and saw it, you would be like, I don't see how this is condemned. And even the cops, when they first came out on the 7th, June the 7th, the cops was like, I've seen some pretty bad places. This is a nice place. It's not going to be condemned. Like 3 of them said that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't, say one way or the other.
Yeah,
And
I
I think even if I didn't see it, I'm not, like I said, it's not up to me. This code is up to code compliance. They're the ones that made the decision, and unfortunately, we have to live with that decision. That's just
because we're in the city of Greensboro.
Further, additionally, we can't make your landlord fix it.
Well, I know, like, how is that possible too? Like, she's having me live in a unhabitable house. I thought the landlord had to make the home habitable.
So,
I've asked her 1,000 times since the 29th to do the repairs, and she refuses. I've got all text, and I've asked her every day.
Right. The problem is, now that we're to the condemnation, she actually had grounds to ask to evict you based on the condemnation. Not because you did anything, but just because there comes a point where, and I'm sure Mr. Gorham, her attorney, would be here, and he probably said this in the courtroom when you weren't there, right?
Yeah.
That they can't fix it with you living there. And that's, I just based on what I've seen in the condemnation paperwork, that's true.
Yeah, I've agreed to move all my stuff out. I was moving all my stuff out, and then they came in. I can't move stuff in the dark without powering the heat and stuff. And like I told her that, and like she did this on purpose, like trying to do a loophole, and she knew I was moving my stuff out so she could have the repairs made.
Okay.
Like everything was in box. It's all documented. Like I was moving. Boxes are all in the kitchen. I was moving everything, and they came and pulled the power. And so how am I supposed to move?
I mean, I hear you and I understand that, but that's not, again, since the city made the decision to pull the power. And again, that's just what I'm reading. Like what they told you versus what I'm reading in this report, like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
But.
And like she also locked up the garage. Like she tore off my locks off of my garage and put her own locks up. And now I have no way to work because that's my workshop with all my tools and tables, saw and miters, and I do woodworking and maintenance and stuff. And I'm not able to access none of my stuff to work because it's her property. I don't want to rip her locks off after she ripped mine off.
Right. Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. So here's the deal. All right. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but they alleged $10,000 worth of damage in their complaint.
Yeah, right? For fire damage, yes, but she has.
And they're alleging that you were responsible for that damage.
No, I'm not responsible. It was a vape pen that I plugged in and it went off. Like the battery. Yeah.
I know what.
And like she has insurance, she paid a $2,500 deductible. She got a check for like $98,000, and plus a whole bunch of the furniture. She told him a whole bunch of stuff was hers that wasn't hers, and she got a check for it that she's already got a check for, and it's my stuff. She lied. I swear to God, that's true. And then, like, I was like, well, why can't you just tell them that everything is yours then if you can tell them that at least, like, 25 of the things are yours? She's like, oh, they aren't going to believe that. That's my knickknacks and stuff. But she did all the big furniture that's mine that got burnt up, and she got a check for it.
Did you have renter's insurance or something like that?
No, I didn't. But she had insurance, and she came in and she told me to just take her lead. And she had me not say anything, and she goes, I'm going to pick out the stuff, and I'm going to have it replaced. I'm going to get a check for it so we can replace it and stuff. And so she, like, told him it was her stuff when it wasn't.
Okay. Well, that is, if that's the truth.
Yeah, I swear to God.
And that's between, that part, unfortunately, is between her and the insurance company. Okay. That, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's between her and the insurance company. That if she defrauded not at the insurance company, then that's on them to figure out and come after her for it. As to your property, okay, that's still in her possession, right?
Yeah.
Given that, right, we got no, you can go to the hearing and challenge the condemnation. I really very highly doubt that will work. I don't see them changing their minds about this condemnation. Okay? And given that, there's no mechanism, even if we went to court and challenged the eviction and won, okay? Because she did this, that, or the other, right? You still would not be allowed to move back in. So getting the eviction overturned, the only reason to do that would be, well, there really isn't one.
Well, how come her lawyer in court said the day she did the judgment against me, he said, now, after all the repairs are done, Miss Cooper, you do know that Mr. Metz does have every right to move back in and take habit or whatever he said of the home. And she was so mad. And then, but her lawyer said that. I swear to you, that's what he said in court. And like, she was furious. Like, her face turned red.
Did you have a written lease at any point?
No, I got text messages showing where she's made me promise to stay here till the end of December of this year so I could do the Christmas decorations again. Because they're up in her attic and she's not able to get them. And like, she made me promise that I would be living here and not move out until December.
Okay.
But that's a text, so I don't know if that helps.
It doesn't, unfortunately. That is not, I disagree with Mr. Gorham on that. I don't see a route for you to force your way legally back in.
Well, what about where she didn't give me a notice of the eviction? She didn't give me a 10-day written notice of ending the lease. She told me on the 20th of June and went and filed for the eviction on the 22nd of June.
Right, no, and you're right. Like, that's technically a deficiency. You're right. But it gets you nowhere to challenge it, is my position. If you take this to district court, okay, there is a risk, since they alleged that you are responsible for this damage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is a possibility, and I don't know, I can't fairly assess how likely this is, but the possibility is there that the district court judge, and particularly if it gets put in front of a jury, and Mr. Gorham starts showing these pictures of all this fire damage to a jury, that they decide that you do owe some or all of that $10,000 that they're asking for.
No, I didn't do. I will take my chance with that. I didn't do nothing wrong at all, and I'll bring my own pictures. They've taken pictures that look horrible.
Okay.
So I will take my chance completely with that.
Okay. And you have every right to do that. Okay. My advice to you is to drop. Because the risk of you ending up with a money judgment against you is much greater than the potential benefit of getting this eviction overturned. Because even if you get it overturned, you're not going to be allowed to move back into the property until and unless it gets repaired.
Yes, I understand. But also, I don't want the eviction on my record either. Like, I did nothing wrong. The fire happened. I was moving my stuff out, and they came and condemned the property and pulled the power while I was moving my stuff out.
And we can go back to that, about getting your stuff out. Okay, we can talk about that.
Like, I haven't done nothing wrong. I haven't lied one single time to anybody. I haven't done nothing wrong at all. And she knows I don't lie either.
I don't think you're lying.
No, I don't think you think I am. I'm just saying I don't want people thinking I am.
Right. And that's kind of a separate thing from what I think your legal position is. Okay? And I think your legal position is, it is in your best interests to let this go. If you were to do that, okay, if you were to dismiss the appeal, she becomes eligible to get a writ of possession, right? And as a condition of that writ of possession, you would have an opportunity to go back into the property and retrieve your property from the house.
So I'm not allowed to go on the property right now and get my stuff?
Not right now. No.
Even with the bond that I did?
Right. Well,
because I'm here right now inside the house.
That makes you make a good point there. He hasn't actually been awarded. Given that you've appealed, you are technically still entitled to possession. You just can't be in there.
Yeah, they gave me till sun up till sundown.
The
Yeah.
condemnation folks told you that you can't sleep there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, and I haven't.
Yeah. Well, so all right, and so has she locked you out of some of your property?
Yeah, like she locked me out. The garage, it's a big garage that's in the back. It's gated. It's like the whole yard is gated in, and it's my garage, and it's got all my tools and stuff in it. Everything's mine in it.
Okay, all right.
And then she had her son and cousin come down here and break in the house, and they stomped all my security cameras. They've stolen a whole bunch of stuff. They've had the cops here bust in, thinking I was inside sleeping or something. And like 3 times the cops have busted in, and I wasn't here. And they're calling the cops and lying to them, saying I'm here, and having the cops even bust in the windows to come in to make sure I'm not here.
Well, on the one hand, it's her property, and that's
like they've stolen so much stuff and like smashed up all my stuff. Like I got pictures of all of it.
If that's the case, if they've stolen some of your property,
yeah, it's a lot.
Then your recourse is to file criminal charges.
I do that. The cops tell me, and the cops was like, well, we can't do that. That's a civil matter. You got to go down to the magistrate. And I went down and did the one for her son coming outside and stealing a whole bunch of the stuff in the yard. And then when I told him about her cousin coming in that one morning, because the cops said I would have to physically see him coming into the house. So one morning my mom dropped me off at the top of the road, and I snuck in so they couldn't see me. And I waited in the house, and he busted in the door, the cousin did, and came in. And I was like, can I help you? And he went running out the door, and I called the cops that morning for him breaking in. They wouldn't do nothing. Then I went to the magistrate, and the magistrate said that where he came into the house and broke in, and he's also stolen stuff in the house, that's a felony warrant. And then she told me I had to go to the Greensboro police station, the one across from the courthouse. I went there, and they said, well, you'll have to talk to the cop who came out there on that morning, Saturday morning, to get the felony warrant done. And they haven't called me or nothing. They won't do nothing.
Okay. Well, on that note, as far as that goes, I hate to hear that, but there's nothing I can do about that.
So how do you get criminal charges done then? Like a felony warrant without, like the cop that came out here I called that morning when he busted in, he hasn't called or nothing or got in touch with me or anything.
My understanding of how you do that is you go to the criminal magistrates and ask them.
Yeah, and she said she can't do it because it's a felony.
Okay. Well, I think that you have to do what they've said to do. If you want to start blowing up the cops' phone and try to get them to come back out, I don't know what else.
So just keep trying to get in touch with that cop.
Sorry.
Okay.
What's that?
So just keep trying to get in touch with that cop that came out Saturday morning.
Or I guess. If that's what they're telling you to do.
Okay.
Now, as to the property that you still have there, I will contact Mr. Gorham, who's the attorney representing your landlord, and discuss with him about she's not entitled to lock you out, and you need to be able to get in there to get your stuff.
Yeah, and where I have to stay a bond to stay in this house, doesn't she have to keep the home habitable? Because I'm still legally, I'm granted to stay on the property, to keep the property. So she, as a landlord, supposed to keep the house habitable, and I've asked her 1,000 times to do the repairs to get the power back on.
Yes, on the one hand, but on the other, if I remember right, your remedy in that situation is called a rent abatement. Okay? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, the last lawyer I talked in Raleigh said something about rent abatement.
Right. So, my understanding is that she hasn't taken any money from you. Is that true?
No, she hasn't taken any money from me, but I have done work, and I've also got receipts from the stores where I've spent like $5,000 to $6,000 on material for the house, which was supposed to be payment. So she has taken money. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but the court is not going to see it that way. Okay? The court is going to see that you have it if it's,
And like I got text messages from her saying that she was going to pay me money, and in the text messages she never paid me, and she just took it instead of paying me, she kept it as payment. And I got her text messages saying she was going to pay me.
So the court is going to see this as two separate things. Okay? I think this is what the intake attorneys were trying to talk to you about and explain. That there's a complaint for money owed, which you filed. And that's your way to get that money back. That's one thing. And on the other hand, okay, you're essentially, from their perspective, and it may very well be the case that she owes you money for those repairs that you made. Okay? And then on the other hand, you're essentially staying in the home rent-free. Now, regardless, we see this happen all the time. That is how the courts construe it in those situations, because they don't want to get into this conversation about how much rent was appropriate, right? Like what it should, like what is your monthly rent amount? Like what is your
the base with it, utility? Yeah, with utilities and everything included, it's $500 a month is what rent was supposed to be, starting in October. And so the first month she was supposed to pay me $600 because I moved all her sons. She bought a budget truck, and I packed a whole budget truck up by myself, followed her to Wilmington for 2 days, and unloaded it myself at her son's apartment. And we came back, and she said she was going to pay me $600 in text messages, and she decided just to keep that as the first month's rent and the next month's part of next month's.
Okay, again, that doesn't change my analysis. You have a complaint for money owed there.
Yeah, but that went towards rent, though. But so I've given her money towards rent, though, technically.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. And from a legal perspective, the court is not going to see it that way. Because there's...
Even with her text messages saying that.
Again, I don't see it. I don't... It routinely
Yeah.
It's the other way.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
The way I'm explaining it. And again, if I thought we had a chance there, I would be with you, but I don't. All right. So that's the trade-off, is where she was potentially under this obligation to keep, and that to keep it habitable, which is true. You're right. And then on the other hand, we're really in a situation where at the very least, it's unclear.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to get to, is which law to look at to see which one is in the right. Like I've gone in through Code of Ordinances, the Guilford County law, the city law, the state law, the federal law, and I'm trying to get down to the very root of it, and I don't know where it ends to see who's got the upper hand, I guess.
Well,
like I have been reading all the books, like going nonstop reading.
And all of this is a matter of state law at the end of the day. Now, the state enables municipalities, so counties and cities, to make, with respect to the housing code stuff, the state enables cities to, within a set of boundaries set by the state, to draft their own code ordinances for what so the state sets a minimum, and the city has to
Yeah.
As far as that goes, I mean, just to answer that question.
And then like I'm trying to get to where I've gotten evicted, where they did the condemnation on one day when I wasn't here, didn't answer the door. They condemned it the same day, pulled the power the same day, wasn't here, and then she files the eviction, and I'm get a judgment against me for the eviction, and then now it's all in limbo or something.
Right. So again, I see nothing illegal about the city's actions here, up to and including pulling the power the same day.
So they don't have to give you no notice. Even your federal law, like it says that you have a right to privacy in a quiet home. You have to have some kind of 24-hour notice before someone knocks on your door.
Well, I mean, that is overridden by what they perceived to be an imminent safety issue.
Okay, well, the fire happened in the 19th of May. I was living here since then, and they came out the 29th of June.
No, I hear you. I hear you. That's when they got reported to them. So they can't act until things get reported to them, right?
Yeah, they got reported on the 7th of June to them.
I mean, it's okay. So it took them that long to get out there. Again, I don't think that changes.
Or with no notice to me that they're coming out to do an inspection, which I don't know if they have to do that. But anyway, I just don't know how it's legal, or why would people agree to this type of law or something?
Well, I mean, it's again, at the end of the day, it's a safety thing. So I mean, I think at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I got him on that because he said because the windows were open. That's what the report was, and he pulled my power because the windows were open.